The Laundry is proudly produced by Strise, your AML automation software for faster onboarding, smarter monitoring, and growth without overhead.
Trillions of dollars is leaking into the illegal economy, and that's actually aiding all these kinds of illegal actors. And if AI can start chipping and reducing the amount of money that goes into the illegal economy, there is absolutely need for all of us to play a role in making sure that we start bringing that trillions to as less as possible.
Money make a world go round.
Welcome to The Laundry, the podcast connecting AML, compliance, and financial crime to the real world. When we think about AI solutions today, our minds often jump to the flashy apps or standalone programs we log into to perform some sort of digital magic. We use them as separate, distinct, and often disconnected from the systems and tools you're using every single day. But for many in banking and compliance, this feels like a misstep. There's a growing belief that true innovation shouldn't require you to go searching for it. Instead, it should come directly to where you already are, making your day-to-day tasks more efficient, not more complicated. I'm your host, Marit, CEO of Strise, and in this episode, we are asking, can embedded AI change financial crime prevention forever? We will be discussing what lessons the FinCrime world can take from big tech, how embedded AI looks in practice in financial crime prevention, and what are the biggest challenges to making it happen. And to dive into this topic, I'm here with Jeeva Moni, partner at EY. Jeeva is partner with EY and leads on financial crime technology, data, and AI. He has over a decade of experience in building AI-powered solutions. He previously spent 6 years at Barclays, leading large tech initiatives, and his expertise lie in helping major organizations transform their financial crime, risk, and compliance functions. Welcome to The Laundry, Jeeva. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me here, and pleasure to talk to you again.
This episode came about because I followed some of your writing on LinkedIn, and you are passionate about how to embed AI in financial crime. So let's just get into this topic of embedding AI in financial crime. So if to our listeners that may not be familiar with the term embedded AI, how would you define it?
No, absolutely. I think embedding AI in financial crime is not that different from embedding AI in any other things we do on our our day-to-day life. So embedding AI is intelligence that resides in all the tools that we use every day. It doesn't sit off the side as a separate app or a fancy add-on. It means that you are working in your spreadsheet, case manager, CRM tool, your workflow intelligence, and AI is right there suggesting, automating, summarizing, without you needing to copy paste or swivel chair systems or switch platforms. It's almost invisible until you need it, and once you use it, it's seamless and becomes part of your day-to-day life. And we're beginning to see that as part of various things big technology firms are doing. And I discover AI features every day in Microsoft Copilot or Outlook, where I say, "Hey, by the way, today I was going to talk to you, and I saw that, hey, Copilot is saying, do you want to prepare for this meeting?" And it could actually pick up the email invite you had sent to me and suggest some answers for the questions even. And that's the beauty of embedding AI in everyday tools we use.
So you're kind of saying that in your view, in the future, the AI features will kind of pop up into the systems that's already in use. So if we drill down into this concept of embedded AI in financial crime compliance and AML, in an ideal world, what would that look like to you?
I think in real world, AI in financial crime mean that it is going much further than what we are used to in an autocomplete in a Word document. So we've been used to it. We use it when we need it, but don't always use it. But in financial crime, it should go beyond autocomplete, which means that it is grounded in the realities of the policies, the procedures, the risk management principles an organization is used to. And that could pop up as a SAR summarization, a narrative creation. It could pop up as a nudge to say, hey, by the way, this looks like a high-risk customer. Do you want to have a second view on it, or do you want to escalate to the level 2 operator? So it could operate in various forms, from increasing the efficiency of operators to infusing risk mindset, to infusing learning and development and interesting ways of gamifying training. So I think that's why I'm so excited about embedding AI in financial crime.
You also just to kind of something you said in the beginning there as a little sidetrack. You said like, okay, using AI shouldn't be an extra taxation or toll on people. Do you think a lot of compliance professionals feel that way today?
I do feel that way. I think it is seen as a new project or a new transformation initiative that is seen as something that has been experimented upon, and there's a lot of effort that goes into it to make it work. I think it should be adopted in a seamless fashion. So, for example, I think most of us did not have the habit of using Zoom calls and Teams meeting and so on, and now it has become natural habit for us. And I see that the adoption of AI has to be in a similar kind of fashion where we seamlessly move into this new world where AI becomes part and parcel of the daily workflow we do. But in some cases, I see that there has to be expensive platforms that need to be bought in, training programs and guardrails that they need to be put in place before AI can be fully utilized and embedded in financial crime workflows. It can start with simple means and slowly expand from that. I think the reason why it is seen as a tax and burden is because the lack of foundation and things that need to sit around AI. We have been living with a lot of technical debt, people and talent debt, data debt that has been dragging us along. And now, in order to use even simple AI infusion, we have to fix a lot of it. And that's where the taxation comes in.
And especially data debt in particular. Like if you start doing auto generate SAR narratives on poor data, it doesn't necessarily get you anywhere. Also, just to our listeners, if there's anyone out there who sits and feels this like AI taxation and burden in their day-to-day everyday life in the job, please do reach out. It would be super interesting to make an episode on this. But back to the kind of the biggest use cases. We talked briefly about SAR narratives, and have you seen any like good examples about where AI is being adopted in a good way and in the start way, not just like a flashy demo? Because we've all seen the flashy demos, but I mean, truly embedded AI, like you defined it, adopted in a way that no taxation on people. It's just naturally been part of the workflow.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there are two ways of looking at AI adoption in financial crime. One I call it as embedding and sprinkling of AI in the current processes in the value chain of in crime. I think the North Star, which is the second approach, which we should all be aiming for, is to re-platform, transform the way we do financial crime completely. So if you were to embed AI in the current processes, left to right, I think some of the great examples I've seen is actually in the data transformation space. So embedding AI-led data controls, data quality management that enables better lineage, that enables better critical data-related quality threshold settings. A lot of institutions are doing that today, and it is helping them in actually putting some clear input controls on data that feeds into financial crime platforms. I'm also seeing that in customer lifecycle management and onboarding platforms. AI is used for making sure that the front office, the customers themselves, or people who are keying in data from documents or extracting data from documents, the data quality that goes into our core systems is managed upfront. That's somewhere where I've seen a lot of good case studies and examples. The other example comes from the other end of our financial crime value chain, which is in the investigation space, where we've seen a lot of traditional application of NLP that was used for summarization of alerts, creation of SAR narratives. But more specifically, we are seeing where you're able to create very precise information extraction from documents and embed those in your narratives as well. Personally, my first AI project was in the detection space, where we overlaid secondary analytics and simple machine learning techniques for triaging of alerts, creating risk based prioritization of alerts, and that gave a lot of benefits. It compressed bad volume of alerts that were getting created. It helped to route higher risk alerts to the most experienced operators and so on. So that I would say in the middle, where a lot of embedding of AI is happening, and true Gen AI embedding as well. I think the other place I'm seeing is around general learning and development, uh, I call this as help buddies and various kinds of horizontal application of the plain vanilla GPT kind of tooling. And this required many organizations to cleanse their policy documents, procedure documents, make it machine readable, properly index them, and then codifiable in the business processes. And these are acting as ways of creating the right kind of tooltip at the right point in time in the business process. And it could also act as a way of searching for information, acting as an additional nudge for new operators, lesser experienced people who are coming into operations and so on. What we are seeing now is that actually evolving into a concept of data cartridge.
Data cartridge? What do you mean by that?
So data cartridge is about encapsulating all the knowledge which has been sat in people's heads, documents, information repositories. And if you think about, for example, in sanction screening, it could also include some of the common typologies and things that cannot be found in fuzzy matching toolings. And all this asset knowledge is actually combined into a distilled set of information repositories, which you can then use it at different points in the business process. So it's not just the model that you are embedding; you're embedding the context and the intelligence as well, right? So I think when I say embedded AI, it's about what is the model, but also the context and the specifics of an institution's business processes.
Yeah, because I was chatting with someone the other day from a large bank who was on the AML sanctions compliance side, and they had then spent a couple of days on a workshop with the business side who served the shipping segment, because these people who serve the business side, like, they have 20 years of tacit knowledge about shipping, about all these facts around shipping that, it doesn't necessarily is reflected in a sanctions list or like a sanctions policy, whatever. And then getting all of that information so they could kind of do their sanction compliance job better. And this person was like, that was so insightful. Like, I learned all of these facts. Like, this is how the kind of industry works in a way. This is how our customer segment works. So yeah, I could definitely see in the future being able to combine all this knowledge in AI, who then uses it in the IT system in some shape or form.
Absolutely. And I think there are traditional technologies as well, right? Like you said, bringing in knowledge graphs into this and making sure that's embedded in the way we curate. We see all the time where the policy document is hundreds of pages. Procedure documents could be, in some cases, like 1,500 page documents. And then we have all these post-it notes and notepads, which very senior people have been holding it, where they have this knowledge. So the idea is to bring all those things into the knowledge cartridge, and we're running some really good experiments, and we're working with some leading certification and L&D providers as well to see how we test this knowledge cartridge against certification programs, right? So for example, ACAMS or an ICA diploma programs, because these are exams which people are passing. And now we're thinking about, if a machine was to take these exams, how does it perform? And some very interesting, fascinating things we are finding is that multiple choice questions, MCQs, machines are able to crack it really well. These foundation models can actually 100% pass rates. It's the case studies and the situational examples where they start actually performing lower and lower. And the way we bring machines to perform as good as humans is by bringing the concept of knowledge cartridge as an example, where the basic levels of values and ethics of an organization you embed in the models, and then you start putting in the context and the layering of other additional knowledge needed. So yeah, some really good experiments and research and development is happening in this space. In EY, still we're working with some good learning and development providers, and yeah, look out for some exciting news on this topic very soon.
Cool. We'll have a look out. Your data problem
and your workflow problem?
Now it isn't your problem. Strise is your ultimate solution to streamline customer due diligence and perpetual KYC.
Transforming your AML strategy from a manual burden to an automated winner.
Nice.
With AI-centric automation at its heart, Strise fast-tracks your time to revenue.
And because we know the future is as uncertain as it is exciting,
Strise is modular by design.
Prepare for tomorrow's risks and regulations today. With flexibility that adapts to whatever the future holds.
And best of all,
you experience value from day one. Instant use out of the box.
Visit Strise.ai and try our live demo today.
back to the show. We've talked a lot about the things that are like working examples, that where you see promise, but on the flip side, what's the number one reason you hear about AI implementations not working in the financial crime compliance space?
No, I think you mentioned about this. It's the data challenge. I think data fragmentation is the single biggest blocker in my view. Everyone wants to talk about models and algorithms, but in most cases, the failures happen because data quality, but more importantly, the data plumbing is broken.
And data plumbing, can you, just for the listeners who don't know this term, what do you mean by data plumbing?
So, data plumbing could be as simple as moving data from the system of record, source systems where you have customer data, transaction data, account information. How does that flow from those systems into detection platforms? And even question of, should they even be flowing and using the traditional ETL or extract, transform, load patterns, or should we be actually having real-time streaming? So how do we move data from one place to another is what I call as data plumbing. And in many cases, because of the regulatory pressure and limited time banks and large institutions had in the past, they've not used mainstream data flows. They've actually built their own ETL plumbing for running financial crime detections. And all what this means is that information is scattered across multiple systems. They're not synchronized all the time. They don't talk to each other. Until we solve this problem, I think AI will always be underpowered in my view. So the current value and the ROI we're getting from AI is despite the fact that data is scattered, it's not synchronized, fragmented, and so on.
Yeah, the data problem, I totally agree with you there. I mean, that is also the number one reason I hear about in the market as well. But your tips then for companies who want to get the value of AI, but they need to solve the data fragmentation problem first. If you were like top 3 tips, like low-hanging fruits or simple tips to kind of get started, or get started even thinking about this problem?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that one other place to start getting best out of AI is look at your talent and the engineers and the people who are actually building these models, right? So what I mean by that is, in many organizations, almost like 9 out of 10, one common theme, and this is like in the last 6 months, I've spoken to quite a few transformation heads, engineering heads, and heads of AI and FinCrime. And almost everyone who's failing, 9 out of 10, they're building their own models. What I mean by that is they're all doing in-house build of AI, better in existing workflows, and actually running POCs and pilots. Now, when I asked the same AI heads and transformation leads, when was the last time they shipped a piece of software or created a new platform that went live, and how long it took for them? Even commercially off-the-shelf products, it takes between 18 to 24 months for large institutions to go live in production. If you think about the speed at which models, right, models that are coming from big tech players, they are shipping models in days and weeks in some cases, like running at pace which we can't cope with. The tooling that sits behind these models and how you interpret, test, and understand this model, the tooling that is required for plumbing, those are getting released in months' time. Now, what we are saying is that we are asking teams which are in-house technology organization who are used to 24-month cycle times of releasing software to cope with the pace they've never been actually, dealt with, right? So I think there's a need for bringing in more talent into the organization if organizations still want to build their own technology.
And for those who might want to do the other route, buying technology, and are like not don't have the teams or just don't have the appetite to build themselves, because I mean there's positives and negatives with each. For the buyers, what are your top tips?
I would say that in with experimentation, it is always good to build a few things and understand how the technology works. But in an area like financial crime, especially organizations that do not have sufficiently invested in the talent aspects, they're not engineering led, and they still have to solve the data and plumbing issues. I would rather spend the effort in the data, plumbing, and the rest of the peripherals, and go for buying option for embedding AI. So I think, which means that your organization and institutional knowledge is spent in fixing the issues which is in your control, and you buy the best AI technology and embed and infuse into your current architecture. And this is where I'm seeing some great examples coming from some of our traditional players of financial crime, even, who have built good tooling that can be embedded to give some immediate value. And these are giving some good value for institutions where they can pretty quickly get access to AI into the FinCrime stack.
So, do you think for the buyers who probably then maybe goes out with RFPs and looking to do those kind of buy cycles, are there any tips to kind of make your RFPs more AI friendly and catching better vendors who can help you with AI? Do you have any tips on that?
Yeah, I think testing AI led financial crime platforms during the RFP cycle is really difficult. I think the testing methodologies and approaches are still evolving. So it is largely led by a feature list and looking at brochures of and the stability and strength of these organizations. I think what I find is, before going out to RFPs and RFIs, I think looking at current stack and making sure that your stack is able to cope with anything else you introduce. And what we find is, in in a lot of cases, there's a lot of debt sitting inside, and before you fix it, introducing AI is going to be the taxation, as we discussed. I think from an RFP and ROI perspective, there is always possibility of, due to the architecture, the cloud-based possibilities, always possible to test either parts of your customer segments, parts of your value chain, by not actually bringing these technologies in-house. And we're seeing increasingly those kinds of trials happening in the market. So our traditional RFIs and RFPs have morphed into a quick RFI followed up with a short list of vendors with whom you actually share a small set of data and run some controlled pilots in a short duration of time. And in those cases, it's not about demonstrating their features, it's actually identifying the risk that sits in the data sets, whether it could be customer transaction payments information. So it's also becoming more and more outcome led rather than just actually showing the features and the functionality of the platform. Can you actually distill a set of insights from the data sets I'm sharing? Can you triage these alerts better than my current models are triaging? And is the output better than what I'm getting today? So that is another way of looking at testing your vendors before you actually invest huge amount of time.
Good tips. Going away a bit from the technicalities of RFIs, but we need to touch upon this final topic before the end of the show, which is something that comes up again and again and again when we do these episodes and talk to people in the market. And that is, of course, the culture of compliance. And that is a fundamental part of any kind of fin crime team. And that is sort of the one thing that AI can't really do, build a culture in a sense. So what do you think about, this culture of compliance, how that will be impacted by an increased use of embedded AI in financial crime? Is there any, what is your perspective on the future here?
This is an exciting part of bringing in AI. The way I think about it is that if AI agents could be nudging a frontline employee in a branch or a front office in real time, if their onboarding choices are pushing towards more higher risk profile, if they can be nudged in real time to be more cautious, I think that is a good way of bringing in AI into real world culture. It could also be as simple as answering compliance questions instantly with the latest policy updates, the sort of hidden knowledge that sits in people's mind, as we discussed earlier. I think we are moving from a place where culture was a set of posters that sat on the wall. I mean, I've seen pretty much in every bank, there used to be about 10 years back, how do we disrupt financial crime? These kinds of big posters, right? I think those postures need to be infused into everyday life of people in the form of various nudges and prompts digitally on their mobile phones, on their workflows. And it becomes part of the system itself, right? Guiding behavior every day in real time. And this is where I see that AI can play a huge role. And we're already seeing that, learning and development and training is getting disrupted as part of it. And there are some good sort of use cases and case studies which are happening in this space. So yes, I think it could be real-time nudges, training, L&D, infusing towards much more risk management and risk-centric activities. And also the efficiency part, which you have spent quite a lot of time so far, Mira, I think by actually removing a lot of monotonous tasks, we are actually freeing up capacity of people to focus on the job they have to do, which is risk management. This actually enables people to devote most of their time towards higher value activities. So in a way, we will see smaller teams, but higher level of skilled teams, right? So I think that itself will drive towards higher level of risk management culture in organizations.
I share that view, and that is also why kind of AI in financial crime matters and in the real world, because we will go away from more repetitive checkbox tasks over to an actual more risk management and having a better view of that. And especially now in this kind of geopolitical uncertainty world that we live in, that will also become like much more important. And that's why I also feel it's very exciting to work in this field, because the fin crime and compliance is like really tied to the real world, like real world events and developments in society and trends. And yeah, it's very fascinating. But before we end this episode, we need to dish out some quick fire questions for you. So I'll say a question and you just say the first thing that comes to mind. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'll try.
The one thing stopping embedded AI in financial crime prevention today is
Data and data fragmentation.
Do you see humans in the loop as a necessity?
Yes, non-negotiable. AI can generate, summarize, but humans provide judgment, risk management, and the ethical oversight humans bring, right? So yes.
And finally, can embedded AI change financial crime prevention forever?
Yes, if and we all have the obligation as it starts shifting it from reactive detection to more real-time prevention. That's as big as moving from paper-based banking into online banking, right? So I think there's a lot of potential, and we are all part of that journey.
Yeah, I like that, from reactive detection to real-time prevention.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just in terms of summarizing why someone like me, I'm passionate about this topic and I've been involved in this for the last 20 years is because we hear about geopolitics, trafficking, terrorism, corruption, and we hear about like a lot of money being spent by financial institutions in fin crime prevention, billions, right, across global. But still, trillions of dollars is leaking into the illegal economy, and that's actually aiding all these kinds of illegal actors too. And if AI can start chipping, having a go at it and chipping and reducing the amount of money that goes into the illegal economy, there is absolutely need for all of us, consultants, technology providers like yourself, to play a role and in making sure that we start bringing that trillions to as less as possible.
I agree. That brings the spin of the laundry to an end. Jeeva, thank you so much for joining me. Where can people find and connect with you?
You can find me on LinkedIn. I can post my LinkedIn link as part of this blog post. And I work in the EY Ernst & Young's London office, so they can connect me through my email address as well.
Money makes the world go round.
And thanks to everyone who was tuning in and listening and spent half an hour with us. If you've enjoyed this podcast, check out our back catalog. We have now more than 130 episodes. And please do follow The Laundry on your podcast platform of choice. If you could share us on your social media channels, tell a colleague about it, drop us in a group chat, maybe give us a 5-star rating. That is something we really appreciate because it helps people to find us. Got something interesting you want to share with us? Comment on the Strise LinkedIn page, my LinkedIn page, or email laundry@strise.ai. Your host for this episode was me, Marit. Our producer was Matthew. Our editor was Dominic. Our engineer was Nicholas. And The Laundry is proudly produced by Strise. We build AML automation software. So visit strise.ai for more information. And see you next Thursday.
Yeah, money make a world go round.
Really enjoyed that conversation. Thought it was a lot of insightful nuggets in there. The Laundry is proudly produced by Strise, your AML automation software for faster onboarding, smarter monitoring, and growth without overhead.